I feel like I'm just trying to process and just try to getting a little bit of clarity. The whole election was just a shit show. And
did you know Billie Joe Armstrong actually called Trump a fascist manipulator to his face? The Green Day frontman didn't hold back when he confronted the former president on live television. What happened next was pure chaos, as Trump's carefully constructed tough guy image completely fell apart. His supporters scrambled to defend him, while social media exploded with memes of the ultimate punk rock beatdown. You won't believe how badly Trump melted down when faced with actual rebellion instead of his usual yes men. Quick favor before we move on. If you appreciate this content, consider giving this video a like and subscribing to the channel. Believe it or not, more than 92% of viewers haven't subscribed yet. It's free and only takes a second, but it means the world to us. So did you subscribe already? Great, thank you so much for your support. Now back to the video. Ever wonder what happens when a punk rock legend decides he's had enough of political BS? Well, Billie Joe Armstrong didn't just criticize Trump. He went for the jugular with the kind of raw honesty that would make most PR managers pass out cold.
His problems, and the media kind of treated this whole thing like it's a reality TV show, because that's the kind of person he is. That's the kind of campaign he wanted to run.
Green Day has always been the band that wasn't afraid to get political. I mean, come on, these are the guys who gave us American Idiot during the Bush years. But when Armstrong turned his attention to the Orange Man himself, he cranked the volume all the way up to 11. What's fascinating is that Armstrong didn't just yell Trump bad like a lazy protester with writer's block. No, the punk rocker actually took the time to break down exactly why Trump's whole political approach is dangerous. In a 2016 interview with Kerrang! Magazine, Armstrong didn't mince words, calling Trump's campaign rhetoric something straight out of a dictator's playbook.
Fascism. And I think he blames he blames Mexicans and he blames Muslims.
Trump is preying on people's fears, Armstrong explained. He's trying to get people to vote for him by appealing to their anger and their fears, blaming minorities for everything. But Armstrong didn't stop there. Unlike most celebrities who offer vague criticisms wrapped in PR-friendly language, the Green Day frontman went full punk rock with his assessment. In that same interview, Armstrong called out the specific tactics Trump was using to manipulate Americans. He's blaming Mexicans and Muslims for everything, Armstrong said, pointing out how easily Trump created division by giving his supporters someone to blame. And in a moment of particularly sharp insight, Armstrong criticized the media for treating Trump's presidential run like a reality TV show instead of recognizing the danger it presented. You've got to appreciate the difference between Armstrong's approach and what we typically get from Hollywood types. While most celebrities craft carefully worded statements approved by teams of managers, Armstrong's criticism had all the subtlety of a power chord. Loud, direct, and impossible to ignore. There was no, "I respectfully disagree with certain policies" nonsense. Just straight up, this guy's dangerous, and here's exactly why. What makes Armstrong's comments even more powerful is that they weren't just random outbursts. Green Day has been raising political red flags for decades through their music. When the band released American Idiot in 2004, they were specifically targeting the media propaganda that fueled the Iraq War. So when Armstrong started warning about Trump, it wasn't some celebrity jumping on a bandwagon. It was consistent with the band's long-standing political awareness. During a performance on MTV's European Music Awards in November 2016, Armstrong changed the lyrics to American Idiot from "I'm not part of a redneck agenda" to "I'm not part of a MAGA agenda," making it crystal clear where the band stood. And at concerts throughout Trump's campaign and presidency, Armstrong would frequently stop the show to deliver impromptu speeches about the dangers of Trumpism. The pattern of increasingly bold statements reached its peak when Armstrong told Enemy magazine in a no-holds-barred interview, "The worst problem I see about Trump is who his followers are. I actually feel bad for them because they're poor working-class people who can't get a leg up. They're just pissed off and he's given them someone to blame."
I feel like I'm just trying to process and just try to getting a little bit of clarity. The whole election was just a shit show.
But the real knockout punch came when Armstrong stopped dancing around the edges and called it like he saw it. In an interview with Kerrang! Magazine that shocked even some of his fans, Armstrong stated plainly, Trump's campaign has got fascist overtones, if not straight up fascism. The man is dangerous. This wasn't some random insult. It was a punk rock legend with decades of political awareness calling out what he genuinely saw as an existential threat to democracy. Armstrong delivered his political gut punch, but what happened next exposes the bizarre theater of Trump's public persona. For a man who brags about being, like, really smart and a very stable genius, his reaction to criticism from a punk rocker unraveled faster than his weird comb-over in a hurricane. You'd think someone who wants to run the free world would have thicker skin than a grape, but nope. Turns out our former president has the emotional resilience of a chocolate teapot in the Sahara.
That's what I said in a tweet, which I guess some people think is controversial. A lot of people love it, by the way.
When Armstrong's comments hit the internet, Trump did what Trump does best. He completely lost his mind. Instead of addressing the actual criticism about fascist tendencies, he went straight to his favorite playbook. All caps social media tantrums. In one particularly unhinged post, Trump whined, "If you hate our country, if you're not happy here, you can leave." Classic Trump move. When someone criticizes your politics, just tell them to get out of America. Nothing says I'm not a fascist like demanding critics exile themselves, right? Behind the scenes, Trump's team was scrambling like cockroaches when the kitchen light turns on. His aides desperately tried to spin the confrontation, attempting to cook up some weird conspiracy theory involving Hollywood and punk rock. Imagine being the poor staffer who had to explain to Trump who Green Day even was. Sir, they're not actually environmentalists. No sir, they don't make their instruments from recycled materials. Trump's supporters, meanwhile, jumped in with their own special brand of crazy. Rather than engage with Armstrong's actual points about fascism and manipulation, they went full tinfoil hat. Some of these MAGA geniuses started spreading bizarre theories suggesting Armstrong's criticism was part of some deep state plot, because obviously the deep state's master plan involves checks notes. Getting punk rockers from the 90s to criticize Trump makes total sense if you've recently been hit in the head with a brick. The whole situation is dripping with irony. Here's a guy who built his entire persona around being tough, a strong man who can handle anything, the same guy who constantly dishes out kindergarten-level insults to world leaders, political opponents, and random people on Twitter. But when a dude with a guitar calls him out, total meltdown. It's like watching someone who claims to be a heavyweight champion get knocked out by a kitten.
It's right in the middle of, the worst political time of my life, that's for sure.
What's even more delicious is how Trump's reaction only made things worse. What could have been a minor blip on the radar turned into a major embarrassment because of his inability to just let it go. The internet predictably had a field day. Memes of Trump crying while holding Green Day albums flooded social media. People started sharing clips of American Idiot alongside Trump's speeches, and the comparisons were not flattering for the former president. Despite his desperate attempts to regain control of the narrative through more all-caps rants and playing the victim card, Trump had no real response to Armstrong's critique. Because here's the thing about truth. It's hard to argue with. When someone accurately identifies the playbook you're using, screaming fake news just makes you look more guilty. In the end, the confrontation between Armstrong and Trump reveals something fundamental about power and authenticity. When someone who's built their career on speaking truth confronts someone who's built their career on convenient lies, the liar rarely comes out on top.
First of all, it's nice to be out of America just for a second because of this horrendous election that's going on right now that has...
Trump might have cultivated an image of toughness among his yes men and adoring fans, but when faced with genuine rebellion from someone who doesn't need his approval, that paper-thin tough guy facade crumbled faster than his businesses in Atlantic City. While Trump's meltdowns make for prime entertainment, there's a catch to this whole live confrontation narrative that most people missed. Ever wonder why no major news network aired footage of Armstrong and Trump actually arguing face-to-face? Think about it. Wouldn't CNN or Fox have played that clip on repeat until the end of time? The reality behind this punk rock meets politics showdown isn't what the clickbait merchants want you to believe. Let's get real for a second. Despite what those all-caps YouTube titles scream at you, Billie Joe Armstrong and Donald Trump never actually shared the same room, let alone had some epic showdown on national television. I know. Disappointing, right? The internet promised us a punk rock legend going toe-to-toe with Orange McThin Skin, but what we got instead was more like a long-distance relationship between two people who can't stand each other.
Concerned, if you hate our country, if you're not happy here, you can leave.
The truth is, Armstrong's rebellion took place on stage, in interviews, and through his music, not in some dramatic confrontation with Trump himself. During Green Day concerts, Armstrong didn't just talk the talk, he went full theatrical rebellion. At one show, he actually pulled out what looked like a rubber Trump head, waved it around to the delight of fans, and then chucked it into the crowd. Nothing says, "I respectfully disagree with your policies," quite like symbolically decapitating someone. Am I right?
By whom, though?
I think Trump, when he came out with his campaign, he came out as the anti-Obama. It has fascist.
But Armstrong didn't stop there. In what might be the most un-American thing an American can do, according to MAGA logic anyway, he actually yelled F America during a performance and claimed he was renouncing his citizenship. Spoiler alert, he still lives in the United States, so maybe that paperwork is just really backed up at the embassy. Green Day also got creative with their anti-Trump messaging by reworking their classic hits. They famously changed the lyrics of American Idiot, a song that was already political to begin with, to reflect their feelings about Trump's agenda. During one performance, Armstrong made it crystal clear where he stood, declaring, "I'm not a part of a MAGA agenda." Talk about subtle, right?
Don't you want Donald Trump to shut the fuck up?
The internet, being the internet, took these separate incidents and created a narrative that was much more dramatic and direct than reality. Social media platforms became breeding grounds for memes and reaction videos that portrayed Armstrong and Trump as locked in some kind of heavyweight championship of political discourse. These viral posts showcased what people described as the absurdity of Trump's responses and amplified the contrast between Armstrong's punk rock rebellion and Trump's, let's say, somewhat sensitive ego. But here's where it gets interesting. Even though the live on-air confrontation never actually happened, the impact of Armstrong's criticisms was very real. The online reaction alone, with its flood of memes and commentary, created a cultural moment that affected how many people viewed both figures. It's like they had a confrontation in the digital town square instead of a TV studio. What's fascinating is how powerful Armstrong's form of resistance proved to be. He didn't need to be in the same room as Trump to land a punch. Through performances, music, and visual statements like the Trump head toss, he demonstrated how punk rock can still function as an effective form of political protest. In some ways, this approach was actually more impactful than a direct TV confrontation would have been. It reached fans directly, without media filters or talking heads explaining what it all meant.
If our entire country is about to have one big collective heart attack. So
yes, the clickbait headlines promising some epic face-to-face showdown between Armstrong and Trump were completely made up. But in a weird way, the substance behind them, the clash between punk rock authenticity and political posturing, that was absolutely real. Sometimes symbolic confrontations speak louder than literal ones, especially when rubber heads are involved. What Armstrong's punk rock rebellion against Trump teaches us is pretty simple. Authentic defiance always shatters the facade of would-be strongmen.
And it's just sort of that, you know, after like drinking way too much poison.
Trump's reaction proved that bullies can dish it out, but can't take it. Like Bob Dylan and Joan Baez, during the civil rights movement, Armstrong's musical truth-telling mobilized people against authoritarianism. When musicians stand up to power-hungry politicians, they're doing more than just making noise. They're carrying on a tradition that's helped keep democracy breathing for generations. Our orange friend might pretend he's tough, but throw some punk rock criticism his way and watch that tough guy act crumble faster than his spray tan in a rainstorm. The truth doesn't need clickbait headlines or fake confrontations to be powerful. Sometimes all it takes is 3 chords and the truth to remind us what real courage looks like. And that's something no presidential tweet tantrum can ever defeat.